Henderson. Welcome to True Talk. We're sitting here in the Orlando corporate office. We actually got a special guest on with us today. We got Mr. Troy Burnett. Troy, where are you at again?
Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina. I think I've been there like one time. I have like family from South Carolina, but I've heard it's a pretty cool area.
Awesome. I love it.
But I've heard so much good stuff. I guess I got to get up there and visit more. I'm not sure. So
come on down.
Cool, man. Did you start with Family First Life there?
Yeah, I did. I was with a captive agency for about 6 or 8 months prior to that. And my wife knew Ryan and Brandon Montalto because she grew up in Fort Walton.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a phone call to Ryan, and I procrastinated a little bit. And then I made another phone call to Ryan a couple months later down the road. And then that's about when I met you in Charlotte for a BDM, and been on board ever since October of 2019.
That's awesome, dude. Well, I'm definitely glad. I'm definitely glad you made the jump. I know, a lot of times, we have agents that come in from all over the place, whether they're working with a captive company before, they weren't licensed, we get them licensed, they've been in business 20 years or 6 months. Right. But, I remember the first time I met you, and I remember, it was in Charlotte, wasn't it? That's
yeah,
what the meeting was?
BDM was in Charlotte. It's only about an hour and a half from Greenville.
Yeah, you were like, man, my company never did anything like this. And I was like, really? And then, you're like, yeah, I'm at this comp. And I was like, dude, they should do your appointments for you, at that comp, and, so no, man, we're glad to have you on board. It's honestly an honor, because, you and I aren't on the same team. We are on the same team, but when it comes into hierarchy, we're not, you don't make any money on me, I don't make any money on you, but it's cool working with you because we can bounce things off of each other. And I got to say, man, in our agency, in our group, I gotta say, dude, you're probably, I think, one of the most improved agents, like from start to finish, that I've seen. Like, come in.
Thanks, man.
You've only been here how long?
A little over a year.
And you sold. Yeah. What did you issue pay last year?
Last year, over 200,000.
Over 200. So first year in the industry, over $200,000, right? Mm-hmm. And it was not your first year just with Family First Life, your first year in the industry, right?
First full calendar year in the industry. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when people come on board and they go, hey, what should I expect in my next 12 months? Troy just told, you could make 200 grand like that, right? If you work, right? We have some people coming and hitting Hall of Fame in like 9 months. It's stupid. I did like 100, I think I did only 128,000 my first year, and I had no idea what I was doing. It was like 128, then it went to 260, 290, broke 300. So my point is from you just starting, already doing the 200,000, now I know you're talking about getting to Hall of Fame this year, right? And you're growing an agency and building a team. So I was like, who could we get on that's in the trenches right now that could talk a lot about, some things they're changing, some mistakes they've made. And you were like the first person that came to mind. I was like, we got to get Troy on.
Awesome, man.
So glad to have you.
I appreciate that, because we bounce a lot off each other, during the week and stuff like that. I lean on you a little bit, and I appreciate that, man.
Oh, 100%.
That's big compliment.
Dude, I appreciate you. You'd be amazed how many agents will come to me and be like, who's this Troy guy? Da, 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 da. He's selling all this insurance. And, he runs, because you do run a lot of appointments. You run 30 appointments a week.
Close to it as I can get.
Yeah. And it's,
or more if it happens.
Absolutely. Well, it's good because people get to see, when you do maybe have a not so great week, right? Mm-hmm. People get to see the transparency of, hey, like, this is what the business looks like. You're not perfect. None of us are perfect. It's just, you work real hard. You have goals, you have aspirations. And, I enjoy working with you, dude, because I can see the changes you've already made. I can see the changes you're trying to make now, and I can kind of see where you're going. And it honestly, it's friendly competition, but it's like, okay, I got to get better because I can't let Troy catch me. You know what I mean? So I like it, but, really quick, kind of just getting rolling, kind of tell them, what got you in the business, right? Yeah. And, you already talked about how you found Family First Life. What got you in the business? What did that look like when you first got started?
Man, it was scary. I was in the same industry for 15 years prior to this, and I was successful, but I never hit that level, that peak that I was striving for. It kind of felt like I had kind of plateaued for like the last 7 years of that industry, of that career.
Just
And not
curious,
that I need to feel appreciated, but like,
what did that
didn't
look
feel
like income for
appreciated or
you?
anything.
Just curious, what did that look like income wise for you?
Income wise, I'd always made between 100 to 175,000. Bad years, a little under 100.
Got it.
But I was usually right around that 100 or a little bit over
Got
spot. Yeah. And yeah, jumping into insurance, man, an industry I knew absolutely nothing about. Probably the only relative experience I had to it was just some sales background. That's it. And most of my sales background was business to business. I did have some retail background, but not a whole lot of intimate stuff like we do now. And so leaving an industry that I had been in for 15 years and made connections and knew everybody all across the country, to jumping into one that I knew absolutely nothing about was definitely scary. But what was scarier for me was staying in that industry, in that spot, for another 15 years at 40 and being 55 and having the same thing to show for it. When you're in a spot where you're married, you got two young little kids, and you're thinking, wow, this is all I'm going to do. That was scarier to me than jumping into this, because I did know some people that had tremendous success in insurance. I kind of thought I knew maybe a little bit about how it worked, but I was like, I don't see any reason I can't do that. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I was done with that. So did it look scary? Oh yeah. And was it for, the first, little while, especially when I was on board with the wrong company to begin with prior to, finding FFL? Yeah. But it's all about mindset. And I think that's probably what we're going to dig into, a little bit in this discussion. And I just kept my mindset at we're not going to fail at this. There is no plan B. I had zero plan B. I mean, I quit, left the industry, cut all ties, cold turkey out of nowhere. So I had no choice but to make this work. And so that's been, I think, personally for me, I think that accomplishment means more to me than anything that I've done monetarily or issue paid so far.
No, absolutely. It's a good point, because, I'm 25, Troy. I'm still young. I'm still trying to figure life out. And I even tell us, like, clients and agents, I'm like, look, I'm trying to figure this thing out like everybody else. I know a lot about the business. But when it comes to family advice, like, I'm not your guy. I don't have kids. I'm not married. But one thing that I find in, backgrounds that when people succeed is, one, right, you had no experience previous, so, if you are hiring and you're building an agency, I think a lot of people mess up by going, I need to find someone that has 15 years of experience. Like, Troy had no experience. He had done sales before, but nothing insurance, which is awesome. But what you just talked about is huge, because when people go, oh, I need something guaranteed, I need a paycheck or whatever. But then that same person will go, I need to make more money, right? I need this. I want to buy this kind of house. We were just talking about the house you're just buying. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But what you just said was huge, because people are so scared to make that jump. And you're like, dude, if I keep doing this, I'm going to be doing the same thing in 15 years, And for me, I got to be honest with you. When I got in this business, it was about the money. It was about me. How much money could I make? How much money could I keep? And whatever I could do to better my position. Sure. Granted, there were some things I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to help my mom out, do some things. But it was at the end of
that was awesome.
No, absolutely, dude. But it's at the end of the day, I'm just trying to take care of, who I care about. But I got to be honest with you, it was extremely selfish. So for you to sit here and say, hey, like, I cut my ties, I jumped in, right, because I'm trying to better myself. You got a family to take care of. It's huge, right? Because when people are in an industry a long time, right, it's comfortable. You were making decent money. It wasn't like you were poor, but you wanted more. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't know, dude. That's just that's huge, because I got to give respect for you, because did you have kids at that time when you jumped in?
Oh yeah. I had so probably My daughter, Ella Kay, must have been maybe 2.5 at that point. I had a 6-month-old newborn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, when you really look at this, people are like, I don't know if I can do it. No, no, you can do it. You just have to do it. It's,
Yeah.
I remember coming from the car business and I knew nothing about insurance. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, hey, I'm going to quit selling cars. I'm going to go sell insurance. And she's like, all right, whatever you want, you're going to be great at it. And I know she was just like, oh God, like, oh boy, and I was like, no, it's gonna be fine. Like, you're good. We're going to get the bills paid. And now looking back on it, it's just that she believed in me and you believed in yourself. And obviously your family believed in yourself, but that is a huge thing of understanding. It's okay to be scared. It's okay, but what's not okay is to sit there and dwell on it and not do anything about it. It's like, okay, here's where we're at. Here's where I want to go. What can I do to get there? And you put that plan together and made it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
exactly. With the help of mentors and uplines and reaching out, not thinking that I could do this thing all on my own.
Right.
Putting my pride and putting my maybe experience and my background behind and realizing, hey, I'm coming into this as green as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, what are those guys that had $1 million agencies and VPs? Jerrod VP in his 20s. I'm going to follow what Jerrod's doing. I'm going to follow what Ryan's doing. When I met Zach here in Greenville, it's just like, cool. You got to be a sponge, and you got to. What I love about FFL is like when I reach out to people like y'all pour into us.
Sure.
And that's awesome. You can't put a you can't put a price tag or a benefit on that. That's just simply awesome.
Right. No, and you can't. And that's one thing. If you're looking at joining an IMO, I mean, you don't have to work with us. I think you should work with us, but it's not. I'm not saying just.
We pay more.
Yeah, we pay more. And training's free. We pay bonuses. We pay very well. But whoever you're looking at, like look at that. Like, look at the culture of the company. Are they really trying to see you win and succeed? And if not, find somebody that is. Here, the way we're structured, again, we're all kind of on the same team, but it's crazy you say that, because I think that's why, obviously Family First Life has blown up so much, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whose team you're on. Like, we just all want people to win. And when I was starting, when I was new, that was how it was. Like, we go to a training, you share, people poured into me. So now it's time to give back. And, you do the same thing. You pour it, like you post stuff in the Slack group that motivates me, and you probably don't even know that, it's just, it's how it is here, so that's awesome, man. So let's talk about this. So, you mentioned you have a wife, right? Were you guys running a business together? What does she do?
No, she worked as a school teacher and a paralegal in her background.
Okay.
And then when we got married, and we had Ella Kay, and she was pregnant probably 9 months after we got married. But so when that happened, she just quit work. So she stays at home. And we met later in life. We met in my mid-30s when we were both living in Charlotte. So she knew about my history and background in spa sales, and the pool and spa industry is where I was from. And she saw about the last 5 years of it. And she was the one that pushed me to go do something different. She was like, you're amazing at what you do. She goes, but you're underappreciated and underpaid.
Yeah.
She's like, let's look at something else. And so she was the first person to get on board with insurance and push me to go do it.
Wow.
So having that support system of the spouse is absolutely critical. But I didn't really have to ask for that support or push for that support. It was the complete opposite. She was the one that was pushing to me to get out of my comfort zone and go into this. And I thank her for that every day. Trust
Absolutely.
me.
I bet it's I sit here and think about it, and I gotta be honest with you, dude. When I got in this business, and I tell everybody this, like, I was just trying to replace my income with car sales. I was like, if I could make 60, 70 grand a year and work half the time, I'd be happy, because, time and money equals happiness. But when I saw the numbers and everything, I was like, wow, I was like, you can really make a bunch of money here. Things kind of changed a little bit. So one of those things is like how it's changed, in the past of, how long it took me to get there, to a couple 100,000 issue paid, and other new agents coming in, it would take them, X amount of time. But now you're coming in, crushing it, extremely coachable. You're like, dude, just teach me. And I think that is really why you're just winning, so much. It's just because you're just like, dude, show me the way. I'll do whatever it takes. And, finding the common denominators and people that succeed here, You know, you're willing to drive anywhere. You know, you're like, I don't care where the leads are. You're in the office dialing, 8 a.m. till, 8, 9 o'clock.
Whenever it's done.
Yeah. I remember Troy sent me a text like 9 o'clock at night, and he's like, 8, 9 o'clock at night. He's like, hey man, just got done dialing, I'm about to eat dinner, my kid's about to put my kids to bed. And I'm like, dang, this dude's still dialing. And a lot of people got off the phone at 4 because it got tough,
Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So coming in from an industry, right, that you said 15 years of experience in?
Yeah.
Into this, obviously it was scary. You had support from your wife, right? She's backing you up. But you said it was scary, and I know you had support with your uplines and all that, but how was it getting going? Like, obviously you didn't just come in knocking down 20 grand a month.
Right.
Right. What did that look like?
I think it was also scary for me was just because of the lack of success I had with the first agency I was with. I mean, I was there for probably 6 months or a little bit longer. And when I say I didn't make any money, I mean, I'm not exaggerating too much, I mean, talk about blowing through life savings and stuff like that, trying to stay afloat. So I think the reason it was so scary because I was going to give it another shot. And I was like, gosh, I just don't want to run into the same problems,
right?
So that's why it was scary. But I mean, then again, there was no plan B. So it was just like, all right, cool.
What was it that
first option didn't work? Let's dive into this one now.
No, absolutely. What was it that gave you that faith? Like, was it the training? I mean, what was it that you're like, this is going to work?
Just the culture that I immediately noticed when I would be on the phone with Ryan, and then I came down and saw the BDM with you guys in Charlotte. And then, and that was prior to finding this office here in Greenville. I mean, I was dialing from home and going out and running appointments, but I didn't feel like I was on an island. I felt like I could reach out, and I had all the training. I had all the support I needed. And in the previous company I was with, I could dial all day long. Anybody in that office could dial all day long. And if you got 5 to 6 appointments for the entire week, I mean, you're a rock star. So coming into this, and even though the dialing is still the hardest part for me, and probably the only part that I really get anxiety over now, that first time I booked 15 to 20 appointments for 1 week, I was just floored. I was like, oh my gosh, because I was probably dialing on 5 to 10-year-old leads back there. People that had no clue I was going to be calling them or what I was calling them about. And I'm like, these people are answering the phone, number one. Yeah. It's actually the person that I'm looking for on the end.
Right.
And they're letting me come over. I'm like, this is crazy. And then you just go into the field, and it's not like it's not like I'm a one-stop shop.
Right.
Oh, you can't qualify it or you can't afford it. You fold your book up and you go home. It's like, no, this is, I was like, it really, really can't be this easy, can it? And I might not have jumped right out of the gate and wrote 20. But I think in November of 19, I wrote about 7,000 or 8,000 issue paid. But December of 2019, also coming from almost a whole year not making any money and having Christmas knocking on my door with 2 little kids. That was the December of 2019 would have been the second full month. And that month I issue paid 20,000. And that just opened my eyes to a whole new world.
Oh,
I was like, I can really do this. I was like, I got something here.
Breath of fresh air.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even seeing the kind of success that I would see new agents have back then, like a year and a half ago, how quickly people can get started and get up and running. It's crazy now to see how quickly new people now are getting started and getting up and running.
Right.
Issue paying 400 to 800 in your first year. I mean, that's unreal. I don't know how they do it. So now I'm trying to look at some of the new guys and be like, all right, how did you do it? And so that's kind of what gave me the confidence that, hey, this isn't going to be so scary. This can work. All you got to do is work, and then this will work, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I can keep going back to this, but it's so many new agents come in and they're like, oh, well, they're not answering the phone. They told me no, this and that. And you're going to get all that. Everyone gets that. All the same top producers get the same thing. We get the same objections. We go through the same struggles. It's about how you overcome it and go, no, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to door knock on 30 doors over the next couple days. I'm going to dial until 8 p.m. I'm going to start leaving voicemails. I'm going to text 300 people. Like, that's the stuff, and yes, we can teach that, but at the end of the day, we can't teach work ethic, and that's just, dude, I have respect for that. Like you work really hard, you know, and there's really no secret.
Right.
You know, when you look around and you see these people selling 4, 5, 600,000, I mean, no offense, you know, they're great people, but they're nothing special. They just work really freaking hard, you know,
working hard and working harder and longer than I even am.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What, so let's talk about that. So getting started, so you did pretty much come out of the gate, right? And so that's awesome. I didn't know that. I'm thinking back now, I remember Ryan getting you on the call, and I was like, oh wow. I was like, is that Troy guy we met? And he's like, yeah, that's him. I was like, man, good for him. What were some struggles you faced early on, right? Just whether it be leads. I know we were just talking on the phone, that I don't think anybody loves the phone, but was it like leads? Was it staying true to your schedule? What were some issues you faced, and what did you do to fix it, and how did you overcome it?
Gotcha. For me, it wasn't leads, because I was super stoked that we had leads that people actually wanted what we had. I'm like, that's amazing. Cool. This is great. And they even cost me more money back then. Back then I was paying $35 a piece for them. Now we can get them for 11.
Wow.
You know, but I was happy to pay the $35 a piece for them.
Right.
For me, it was the phone, the anxiety of picking up the phone and what if I spend all this money on these leads and then I don't do well on the phone? I get told all day long that I don't have appointments booked. And still a year and a half later, that still gets in my head, you know, honestly. So that's still the struggle. And it's called phone anxiety in this business, and it's real, but it's the number one thing that I think can be a detriment to people. And I think the way I've just tried to overcome it, first thing is just don't let it get in your head. And I know that's easy to be said, but I just try not to let it stay in my head if it's in there. And I just keep calling and I keep calling and I keep calling. Eventually it'll go away. But I think it's also preparing yourself right mentally for that dial day. You know, I've already got my leads before I roll in the office on Monday or Thursday. You know, I've gone to bed early the night before. I've gotten up early that morning. You know, that morning before I go into the office, I've already put a goal sheet together. I've already done some type of reading or listening to a training. I've done something physical to work out, and I've seen my wife and kids, and I roll to the office. So I think doing things like that, just mentally preparing yourself, keeping yourself mentally and physically prepared for this, I think really helps make that dial day go a lot smoother. You know, you're sitting there, you're a lot more confident, you know, and but that was my struggle early on. You know, I could be disciplined enough to put a schedule to phone, you know, call people, because a lot of what I did in the past was also not really, half of it was self-employed, half of it wasn't, but a lot of it was, you know, you had to, you know, have the initiative to, you know, pick up the phone and do that. Right. But that was the hardest part for me. And like I said, it probably still is. I love the home. I'm comfortable in the home. I don't mind knocking on a door. But yeah, the phones are hard, but people are at their worst when you find them on the phone and in the car, you know. They can be rude to you on the phone maybe, but when you show up at the house, most people are great.
They got tea and cookies
waiting
on you.
That's it. That was it.
Yeah, it's crazy, because I mean, all of us could probably write a book, like how many crazy things we've seen in this business, and that's the other thing. You know, people are like, "Oh, I'm scared." I'm like, dude, if you just go out in the field and just see how much fun you can honestly have, I mean, you're gonna have rough days in the field. It just is what it is. It's sales. Sure. People are going to tell you no, whatever. You're going to go over, whatever. But like, there's just really two things for me. One, you meet those clients that like, they really freaking need your help, you know, and they hug you at the end of the appointment. They're like, oh my God, thank you. That's what makes it worth for me. And just some of the crazy things you see, just wild. I mean, I've been in houses with chickens and turkeys running through the living room. I'm writing an app and it's just like chickens on the couch. Now I'm like, you know, it's just like goats walking through the house. I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
I haven't run into that yet.
Yeah. This is awesome. I
lived in the country.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, but you just see crazy things, you know? So, cool, man. So let's talk about this a little bit. Obviously now you're trying to hire and build an agency. I know we were kind of talking about this the other day. And one thing about you, dude, is you are full of questions, you know, and that's how I was. I remember, John Wetmore, I went to the Atlanta office one day, and back, when we first got started, the main training call we had, the only call we had was Thursday night. We still have it. This is Southeast call.
Right.
at 9. And that was when we reported our numbers. And I remember there was like 40 people on that call. Now there's, 440 people, probably more. But I remember starting and my name started getting on the leaderboard, and I was, consistently issuing business each week. And I went to Atlanta and I was just following everybody around, asking them questions. I remember John Whitmore goes, "Who is that 15-year-old kid running around the office asking is he licensed? Is he, you know, and he goes, "Hey man, what team, who do you work with?" And I was like, "Oh, I work with," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And, but dude, I was always full of questions. I probably drove I probably drove him nuts. Like, who is this kid? Can someone please get him a Happy Meal? But, it was great because I learned, and anytime we went to a conference, I was always right there. Hey, what about this? What about that? And that's how you are, dude. You're always you're like, hey, let me ask you this, let me ask you that. And sometimes I'm like, dude, I don't know. That's a question for Ryan. Honestly, I haven't ran into that yet. But we can figure it out. But so now you're trying to hire, you're trying to build an agency. What are some things that you're trying to do now that you're trying to work on and get better at? So you can build and scale this thing.
Yep. What Ryan and I seem to talk about every time I go to him for advice, what I'm trying to do now, and I always have treated it like a business, but I don't think I really ever understood what he meant by that. Maybe I was treating it like my business of getting leads and then, paying bills and then putting it back in leads. I don't think I ever really understood until recently what he really meant about treating it as a business. So, and it goes back to reinvesting in yourself. But now it's just like my biggest goal for Hall of Fame isn't just to make a lot of money for myself. It's like I really have realized I have to pay that much money to be able to turn this into a real business, which is an agency with agents, because it takes money to hire, it takes money to train, So that's why I've got to hit Hall of Fame, is so I can start having the money to treat this like a business and put money into hiring, and discipline myself that extra money, that's where it goes. It doesn't go, I might be buying a house this month, but it doesn't go to bigger houses and more cars and more expenses. No, it goes into treating this like a business and really building an agency, which we're seeing people do this in the calendar year 2020. Some people have built their business in 1 year of what it used to take people 3 to 5 years to do, So that's the learning curve for me now, is really seriously treating it like a business, because I don't think I ever really understood what that meant.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I remember we went to a meeting. We were, I think we're either in Atlanta or Tampa somewhere. And I remember Sean getting up to the front of the room and he's like, we're going to talk about psychology, da, 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 da. And he's like, main thing I can tell you to do is run 30 appointments a week and pay your taxes. Those are 2 things you have to do. And I was just like, oh yeah, I was like, I got to pay taxes. I got to do that. And it just goes to show, it's like, I literally had no idea what I was doing. I was a kid running a bit, and you figure it out, you learn. But absolutely, that was probably one of my biggest pitfalls, is taking the money, investing it back into hiring and getting an admin, getting office, getting things like that, not going and buying Gucci belts and designer shoes, buying new cars. I definitely bought things I didn't need. Now I look back at it and I'm like, I didn't need that, and wasted money, but it's okay. Cool. So as we kind of come up on time, right? If there's one piece of advice, right, if you could go back on, right, and looking at your brand new self, and again, you're still somewhat new. I mean, you're a year in, you're figuring this thing out, but you're in that like sweet spot. You're a year in, you're kind of getting this thing figured out. If there's something you could do to go back and change that you're maybe currently getting better at or whatever, what would that be?
Wow. Really figuring out a strategy very earlier on to make an extra pool of money somewhere, even though there wasn't a ton of it, but there was enough, now that I'm looking back, to invest in hiring very early on. Once the instant internet life leads came out, once integrity was introduced, I think that was probably an awesome sweet spot for agents when they were hiring. And that's my biggest regret, is not getting into the hiring game.
Why do you feel like you didn't hire from day one? Just curious.
Here at all. I think I was scared. I was just scared of the financial investment. I was upping my financial investment on leads because I was like, I got to issue pay more, which means I need more leads. So it's crazy that I really never had any problem spending more money on leads because I could see an instant result come back from that. It was just a simple math equation. Well, if I spend 500 a week on leads, I'm going to do this. If I spend 1,000 a week on leads, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to go spend 1,000 there. So maybe if I could have figured out how to reallocate the funds and really listen to Ryan about hiring and hiring sooner. I mean, I should have been doing it last year for sure. But we can't dwell on the past. I can be thankful for the spot I'm in now. And there's a new strategy. The reason to hit Hall of Fame is to not have any excuse to not hire and have an agency with my name as a VP on it by the end of the year. So there's some big goals. There's some lofty goals there, but there's no reason to set them if you're not going to set the bar really high.
No, I love it. No, that's great, dude. I definitely didn't hire day one either. I kicked myself in the butt for it, but we learn. And I'm thinking back and I'm like, man, how many lives could I have changed earlier on and shared this opportunity? It's just things we all think about. And again, dude, we don't want to get beat at something that, it's like we want to be the best at everything. I think that's also why we're like, oh, we got to figure everything out before we hire someone. It's like, you're never going to have it all figured out. Like that, you're going to be 10 years in, if you follow that strategy. I remember he's like, what do you want to figure this whole thing? Like, that's never going to happen, dude. Like, what are you waiting on? I'm like, that's a really good point. So no, dude, I really appreciate you getting on. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
It's, everyone's busy. You're busy. You're trying to build a business. You got family, kids, you're booking appointments. I mean, you're doing everything, and you took time out of your day, to get on here just to help people that watch this to, hopefully help them improve their business. And that's what it's all about here. It's just helping people win. So appreciate you, man. We're going to definitely be getting you on some more, and cool. Hope this helps, guys, and stay tuned. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, Troy.
Thank you so much, Jerrod. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, FFL. Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate you.
No problem.